Hello, this is Megan.
And this is Mark.
Welcome to our 17th video of the Star Wars Land construction at Disneyland. Today is January 5th, 2018.
To start it off, workers are adding detail to the top portion of the tallest spire in the distance. A new coating has been added to the concrete. Notice that workers are carving the newly added coating to create a textured layer on the spire surface. Now if we focus our attention to the side building of the battle escape, we can see that workers are assembling a staircase on the outer side wall of the building. A platform for the top of the staircase is being lowered into place. Sliding to the right, we can see that dirt has been added between the two layers of walls. Notice that a black layer has been added to the wall surface. This layer is a water filtration fabric that is used to channel water through the holes in the fabric. Basically, once the water makes contact with the fabric, the water drops down to a drain system or drainage cells that is located at the bottom of the wall. And after that, the water is drained away from the wall. So this water filtration fabric helps keep water pressure from building up against the wall and helps preserve the wall against water damage. Also in this area, the concrete forms have been removed from the block castings that we saw being made last week. And here they are. This is what it looked like last week, and I'll dissolve the picture back to what it looks like now. Looking below us, at the side of the building, 3 spherical gas tanks have been installed on top of a concrete slab. These tanks will supply gas to the power generator, which is located to the right of them. Here we are at Tarzan's treehouse, and we'll go to the top to see what we can see from there. Alright, we're at the top, and we can see the rock spires in the distance. I'll zoom in. The workers are continuing to add detail to the tallest rock spire. On the right side of the spire, if you look closely, a worker is spraying a new coating onto the original concrete layer of the spire. Next, we'll go into Mickey's Toontown to view the spire from that perspective. Here we can see that workers are using hand trowels to put shape to the newly added layer. The worker on the right is carving part of the new layer with a brush to create texture to the spire. They're continuing to add shape to the new coating. Now the worker on the left is using a brush to add texture to the coating. Notice he's applying a lot of pressure to create a rough texture while using the brush. Next, he's applying less pressure to create a light texture. And this is great because having different textures on the spire makes the surface of the spire look more natural. Now looking at the beam structure to the right of the rock spires, additional beams have been added. Also, this beam structure can be recognized on the Star Wars Land model. Notice the slant in this segment. Here's the same slant on the beam structure. Next, we'll go on Tom Sawyer Island to get a different perspective. If we look in the distance, we can see that the workers are continuing to add detail to the rock spire. Now looking at the top of the Battle Escape Show building, workers are welding forms together for another rock spire. If we look to the left, workers are adding and welding forms together at this rock spire framework. Now if you look closely behind the Mark Twain riverboat and between the trees, a crane is transporting a mesh form to its location. On the east side of the Battle Escape, workers are welding forms together over here as well. Next, we'll peek through the fence at the tunnel entrance to Star Wars Land, the one that's closest to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Since we saw it last, scaffolding has been put around the structure near the middle of the picture. Next, we'll peek through the fence at the tunnel entrance, the one that's closest to Fantasyland. From this tunnel entrance, we're able to see the new concrete wall that has been made. This is what it looked like last week. You can see the concrete forms in place to create the wall. Next, I'll dissolve the picture back to what it looks like now. If we zoom out a little bit, we can see a new structure that's being constructed. This structure can be recognized on the Star Wars Land model. I believe this is the same framework that we viewed last month from the Mickey and Friends parking structure. At least the front end of the structure.
Today is January 13th, 2018.
Here we are on Tarzan's treehouse looking at the rock spire that is located next to the Battle Escape Show building. And here workers are putting mesh forms into place for the rock spire. And here's a mesh form being lowered. One of the workers is putting the side wire of the mesh form onto the horizontal beam of the structure. Now he's aligning the form with an adjacent form. The workers are attaching the two forms together by using a tie wire. Now we'll peek through the fence at the tunnel entrance, the one that's closest to Fantasyland. Today we have a great view of the edge of the village area structure that we viewed from the Mickey and Friends parking structure last week. We'll go back to the parking structure to see how this area has changed from that perspective. I'll go ahead and zoom in. Here's the edge of the village area structure that we saw from the tunnel entrance. And if you look in front of the structure, there's a cluster of beams. These beams can be recognized on the Star Wars Land model. The beams are for a crashed starship or transport that is up against the rock formations. That is really cool. More mesh forms have been added to the beam structure on the right. Here's what it looked like last week, and this is what it looks like now. On the exterior wall of the Battle Escape side building, most of the staircase has been built. If we pan to the right, a black coating has been put on the surface of the concrete. And this coating is different from the filtration fabric on the walls that we saw last time that is now covered with dirt. This new coating is a waterproofing sealant which provides a vapor barrier. It helps prevent water from getting into the walls. Usually this coating is put into place before the filtration fabric is installed. And notice that the waterproofing sealant has been put around the block castings as well.
Today's January 20th, 2018.
In the distance, we can see that more framework is in place for the starship or transport that is next to the Battle Escape. I'll zoom in. If we look closely, we can see a smaller curved beam structure that wasn't up last week. Let's get a different angle so we can see it better. Next, we'll go ahead and look at the Star Wars Land model to see what this will eventually look like once it's completed. Now if we slide to the right, we can see that a filtration fabric has been installed on top of the waterproofing sealant, even on the block castings. Also, we can see that more green PVC pipes have been brought in, which will eventually be used for drainage purposes. The beam structure to the left of the rock spires has increased in size since we saw it last. And if we pan to the right, a new beam structure has been put in place. Here we are in Harbor Boulevard, and in the distance, we can see Star Wars Land. I'll go ahead and zoom in. The new beam structure is actually the top of the village area structure that is attached to the side of the Millennium Falcon shell building. Next, we'll go into Disneyland and peek through the fence at the tunnel entrance that is closest to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Now here we have a great view of the new beam structure. This is what it looked like before the top piece was added, and I'll dissolve the picture back to what it looks like now. We are on the Mark Twain riverboat, and in the distance we can see that a lot more beams have been added to the sidewall of the Battle Escape show building. Here we have a view of a top portion of a village area beam structure. And if we look closely, we can see two curved beams. I'll pause the picture right here. I'll go ahead and point to the curved beams. Next, we'll go to the Star Wars Land model and view this area on the model. The curved beams will be for the cylindrical side structures of this village area building. From this angle, we can see that concrete has been added to the mesh forms on the right side of the Battle Escape.
Today is January 25th, 2018.
Workers are installing red panel framing on the top portion of the exterior walls of the Battle Escape. Here they're removing a plastic coating from one of the panels. This coating was used to protect the paneling when it was shipped and before it was installed. To the right of the building, a very long beam structure is being put into place. Notice that one of the workers located at the bottom of the picture is using a rope to help guide the beam structure into position. Now that it's in position, workers are attaching and tightening it into place. Let's look at the Star Wars Land model as a reference. The function of this new beam structure is to provide structural support for this rock cavity. Now we're on the tram heading to Disneyland. I never have seen the gate to the back lot open before. This is a rare opportunity to see the Star Wars Land from this perspective. There it is. We'll watch it in slow motion and pause the picture right here. We have a good view of the starship or transport structure. Very cool.
We'd like to remind you that smoking is not permitted.
Now we're heading to Tom Sawyer Island to see what we can see from that perspective. Located on the right side of the battle escape, a worker is spraying a new coating on top of the original concrete coating. Now another worker is using a hand trowel to put shape to the new layer. These workers are continuing to weld mesh forms together, so concrete can eventually be added to this location as well. Next, we'll go on the Matterhorn to see what we can see from that perspective. In the distance, we have a pretty good view of Star Wars Land. Let's compare this perspective with the Star Wars Land model. It's amazing from this angle, inside the Matterhorn, is almost identical to the picture of the model. I'll use reference numbers to compare the areas of both pictures. It's incredible how the fine detail of the model matches the detail of the actual land. The reference points line up perfectly with each other. And it'll be cool to follow the developments of Star Wars Land from this location. Well, that's a taste of things to come.
We can't wait to see what they build next.